Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gretchen and today I am here with another Women's Prize for Nonfiction Longlist review, and today's title is Why Fish Don't Exist by Lulu Miller. And I'm seeing a little bit of a glare, so I won't hold it up the whole time, but this book was very interesting for several reasons. So the first thing that I will mention is I found it fascinating that this book was actually published in the States in 2020, and it's just now being published, or has recently been published, in the UK. I think it's fascinating how decisions like that are made, and how something that we've had access to for so long is now just getting exposure over in the UK. And I know that happens with us as well. They have books that are released years ago and they're finally getting to us, but I was very shocked to see this title because it felt very familiar to me, and I couldn't understand why that was, because I haven't seen it here recently in the States, but once I found out that it was published here so long ago, it made total sense to me. The other thing that I found interesting about this book is that this book is a combination of memoir, biography. It's also kind of a bit of a science-y text as well. So there's a lot going on in here. And basically this book starts with Lulu Miller telling us a candid story about her experiencing a loss in her life and ultimately how she dealt with that grief and what that grief led her to. So the beginning of the book talks about a relationship that she had that failed. She was very much in love with this man. She referred to him as the curly-haired man. They were in love, and all signs kind of pointed to him being the one, and she really felt that she was going to spend the rest of her life with this man. There was some infidelity on her part, and ultimately he decided to leave, and it absolutely devastated her. So through all of this grief that she was having, she was really looking for something to get her through that, and she stumbled upon this man. His name was David Starr Jordan, and he was a taxonomist, and she really kind of barnacled herself to his story and learning about his life. And he was a specialist in identifying fish. So it was said in the book that he is responsible for naming and identifying a fifth of the world's fish population, which was really interesting. And she started to get into the details of how he would do it and the methods that he used and all of that. And what really drew her to his story is that all of this work that he had done eventually took him from the east coast of the States to San Francisco. And in 1906, after he had been doing this work for several years, the earthquake happened, the Great San Francisco earthquake, and he basically lost all of his specimens. All of the work that he had done so far in his life basically came down into rubble. And instead of wallowing over that, he kind of picked himself up, dusted himself off, and immediately just started to replicate and do all of that work over again. So she was looking to him as a hero, kind of, in resilience and how to carry on after something devastating happens. So she really kind of idolized him and was looking to him as this man of inspiration. And we follow her journey into her continuing her research into his life to help her overcome her own grief. And then the book takes a turn. And I don't necessarily believe anything that I'm about to tell you are spoilers, but if you don't want to know anything more about the man has a dark side that we all learn with her. And if you don't want to hear about what those things are, you can go ahead and stop the video now. I won't be offended. But this book definitely took a turn for me, and I was very shocked that the book ended the way that it did, because I was expecting to get a book that once again gave me somebody to look up to. We have this David Starr Jordan guy, and he is the epitome of a positive person and an optimistic person, and he's something that I could personally look up to. No, there is no looking up to this man. What we find out is that he was a supporter of eugenics, goes into great detail into all of the things that he believed, and some of it is very disturbing, very shocking. And not only that, but it also talks about how he came to those ideas, the things that influenced him into coming into those ideas. And once again, America has a terrible history of doing things that are just shocking and awful, and we find out as readers that a lot of the ideas that Hitler had actually came from American scholars and American ideals, and that was just a disturbing thing to read. There's also a part, and if that isn't disturbing enough, the man is also a potential murderer, and although I don't know what else has happened as far as research goes since the end of this book, but I think it has actually been proved or proven that he was indeed involved as maybe not the actual murderer, but he was definitely involved in the plot of murder of the woman that was the president's wife at Stanford. So there's a whole lot of stuff that comes out about this guy, and it was just very eye-opening, very interesting, and it was, like I said, not how I expected this book to end. I thought it was going to be a feel-good, trip through this guy's life, and how much he ended up helping her, and it ended up just being something completely different. But that being said, I enjoyed my time with it. It was very interesting. It's not a book that I am going to forget. I'm not going to forget about this person. And yeah, it was informative. I think that it was well written. So if I had to say anything critical about the book, the only thing that I would mention is that I think a lot of people might want to pick up a book like this thinking that this is going to be a book that is really going to hone in and help them overcome their own grief. And because obviously throughout this book, we're learning about the progression of her grieving something and coming out on the other side of it. But I don't think that this is the book that's going to do that for you. Although this book touches on this specific author's path to overcoming her own grief, it's not going to be something, or the path that she took to do that is not going to be something that works for everybody. And I don't think that that's necessarily the point of this book. So if you're looking for something to help you through a tough time in your life, I'm not saying that this won't help, but I don't necessarily think this book would be the answer either, if that makes any sense. I think that there are probably more books out there specific to memoir only that are going to get you through something like that, where this is not just memoir. It's not just her telling her story on how she overcame her grief. It's also that biography element of this man. And then the fact that it also takes a dark turn toward the end might also be upsetting to maybe some readers that are hoping to find something inspiring and something that's going to help them through a really hard time. So yeah, so that's really the only negative thing I have to say about it. I enjoyed my time with this read. It wasn't necessarily my favorite book. I think I landed on a 3.5 for this one. And yeah, I am excited. I did learn a whole lot from this. I love books that I can learn from and take things away from. So that's part of why I love the Women's Prize for Nonfiction, is every time I pick up a book, regardless of whether or not I get along with it, I'm always learning something new. So yeah, so this is the third book that I have finished. I think the book I'm going to move on to next is Autocracy Inc. I have a copy of that, and I think that's the next logical one for me to get while I have it in my possession. So you should probably see a review of that to come soon. And until we read again, bye!